All right, it is 1 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be looking for approval of the agenda.
Make that motion.
I second it.
We have a motion by Ed. And a. Let's see. We have a motion by Ed, seconded by Lynn to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None opposed. The minutes, have you all had a chance to read those? Anyone like to move to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Amy, seconded by Lynn to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 None opposed. So our first petition is docket number BOA 10-16-25-01. And that is the petition of James and Charlene Allen and Jeremy and Aaron Allen, who seek a variance regarding a single family dwelling on prime soils. Looks like that is Aaron.
Good afternoon, board members.
Hello, Aaron.
Hello. So as stated, a variance request to locate a home on soils that are regulated by the county. So it would be a new site being developed for a single family home. They're proposing slightly under a 3-acre parcel, and the entirety of that parcel would consist of class 2 and 3 soils. Here you see the project map. The soils are indicated in the greenish shade there, with the class being labeled and the parcel outlined in the pinkish color there. In terms of zoning, the parcel and the area all surrounding it are all within the agricultural district. The requirement that they're up against here and asking for relief from today. It is parcels of land to contain dwellings shall consist of class 4 through class 8 soils as identified in the soil survey of Winona County as a means to prevent the disturbance to prime soils. An applicant may also develop a site if the percentage of class 1 through 3 soils compose less than 40%. So really it's 40% is what the rule is. And there I'll point out that we often refer to it as prime soils. Prime soils there is used as an adjective, meaning high quality soils. It's not used as a noun. Here is another oblique view of the site. So this is in Saratoga Township. Again, you can see the parcel. It doesn't show up really great from this view, but you can see the pinkish lines illustrating where that proposed parcel would go. You see it's a panhandle shape. So we've got a narrow driveway there going back to a building envelope. It's coming off of Sinclair Road, which is a township road, which goes there. And we see this is in a rural setting. So we talked about soil capability class. So we regulate based on class 1 through class 3. And then the ratings go all the way up to class 8. You see class 1 have few limitations to restrict their use. Class 8 have soils and miscellaneous areas have limitations that preclude commercial plant production and that restrict their use for recreational purposes. And it sort of gradually goes up between those two extremes. Here we see the site map of the soil class from the soil survey. And we've got 2 major soil units within that site map. We've got 476C and N56B. So those are numbers that have some meaning if you're a soil scientist, but for our purposes, that's just what we would use to identify those areas.
So the 2 areas there are class 2 or 3?
Right, so we'll get to that on the next slide.
Thank you.
So we see here, we've got a parcel that's proposed that would consist 46.9% of class 3, 51.2% of class 2, and then some incidental other classes, but all below 1%. I know we often talk about these as prime soils. They're not actually prime soils. That's a different soil classification. That's the farmland classification. And within that way of classifying soils, we classify as prime farmland. So we often hear prime soils. We classify as farmland of statewide importance, farmland of local importance, or unique farmland. There's no class 1 through 3 or class 5 through 8 within that rating system. Look here at the soil map. This is showing the farmland classification there. And again, it's the same unit. So we see those same two numbers and we see the delineation between the two remains the same. So if we look here at what that site looks like here, we've got 46.9% of farmland of statewide importance, 51.2% of prime soils.
Aaron, are they currently being farmed?
I'll get to that, I think, later in the presentation. If I don't,
Thank you.
remind me. Water features. So here we see again the proposed parcel, and we're zoomed out pretty far. We've got a view probably 3/4 of a mile in either direction. We have some mapped wetlands in the National Wetland Inventory here north to the proposed site. And then as we go west, we have Trout Run Creek here, which has an associated floodplain with it and an associated shoreline district, and also some wetlands over there.
Aaron, are you going to get to the slope? At another?
Yeah, great. I'm glad you brought it up because we're talking about slope
Oh,
right here.
there.
So if we look here, we're looking to the northwest and we see a slope map. So in this slope map, yellow is less than 12%. And as we go up to, bright red, it's greater than 25%. So the proposed parcel here, I guess I called it relatively gentle slopes. As you go to the north there, you see some more red, that means steeper. In terms of your consideration of the site, well, it's considered against what? So the applicant submitted a prior application and then withdrew it before it came to you for a different site. Actually, it wouldn't have come to you because they proposed this parcel last summer, and this parcel was under that 40% magic number in the ordinance that allows a site to be developed. So they were proposing essentially a single family home as they now are, but up here instead of down here. If we're going to determine that there's no reasonable way to avoid a variance and the least variance necessary is being asked for, we need to compare what another site might look like or what another proposal might look like in order to do that. So here is an oblique view of the prior proposal. And one of the reasons stated for the withdrawal of that prior proposal was the amount of cropland that it would require to be converted. So this has again, a panhandle shaped parcel, but it's much larger. This is a 10-acre parcel rather than a 2 3/4 acre parcel. And it would have required converting that entire driveway out of production into essentially driveway. Now we're looking west, and here we're standing here and we're looking to the west. And from this, you can just barely see the home over the horizon area. It's quite a distance. It's about 1/3 of a mile that would have been required of driveway to be constructed. So for those two reasons, that site was seen as less appealing, perhaps less reasonable to the applicants. And then what if we tried to look at the parcel and find an area that wouldn't require any sort of variance at all, that didn't have the potential pitfalls of the application they submitted and withdrew, the long driveway and the cropland conversion, within the middle of the parent parcel, just north of the proposed site? We have an area of unregulated soils, meaning soils that are class 4 through 8. So, you know, the ordinance would not prevent you, based on soil standards, from constructing a home there. But it does have some issues with functional suitability. So we see here that same parcel with the wetland layer turned on. So the National Wetland Inventory has identified some freshwater emergent wetlands within that location. And then again, that slope question you had, Amy, here we see the same scale here, the yellow flat, red steep, much steeper there than where we're talking about the proposal being currently today before you. And then another tool within the resource, I should say, within the soil survey, it can provide some insights on limitations for various uses of soil. So when we look at the unregulated soils, the class 4 through 8 soils there, and we can go into the soil survey and say, well, what can this tell us about this location's suitability for construction of a dwelling? And when we look here at the custom soils report with the rating for dwellings with basement, we see that the entirety of that area has a rating of very limited, which is the end of the spectrum in terms of not suited for a dwelling with basement as far as that rating goes.
So based on this picture, where is the current site that they're asking for?
The current site would be to the south of that. It would be, you know, I think about in this area, but not
Okay.
on that current map.
Okay, thank you.
And then if you're going to build a dwelling, of course, you need a method of dealing with the wastewater that the occupants of that dwelling would produce. And again, the soil survey has a rating system for septics. So here we're looking at what is often thought to be the maximum option for a septic in Winona County, being the mound system, the where they raise it out of the ground. And we see the ratings for the mound systems for that same unregulated area based on soils. And again, this has a rating of extremely limited, which again is the far end of the spectrum in terms of how limited an area is for that particular land use. Before I jump, Ed, you asked about something earlier. Did your question, was your question answered?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Permitting history. So we have no history of permits on the parent parcel. There is an agricultural building on the parent parcel that is believed to have been constructed before permitting was required for agricultural buildings. And then public comments. The township supports this application. No other comments were received. And the conclusion here for you all, as it always is that the committee should consider all materials and testimony before making findings that support their decision. Staff has prepared analysis that provided guidance for drafting the findings, and the county attorney's office has prepared draft findings for your consideration. And should the board recommend approval, the county attorney's office has proposed conditions for your consideration as well. Been a pleasure providing the effective and efficient presentation to you. Any questions before I take my seat?
Aaron, is the parcel in question actively being farmed?
That was your question. Yes. Okay. I couldn't remember what it was. I tried to not disclose that in asking the question to you, but gets back up to a map here. Partially would be the answer. There's an existing field road here, so the panhandle of this proposed parcel would be that highly rated. I think that's a class 2 soil there, regulated soil, but it is a field road, so it is not under cultivation. As you move to the west and it expands out to the building envelope, then yes, nearly all of it except for the width of the field road would be under cultivation currently.
I'm looking at, it would be in small print, page 26 in our packet. and this is discussing the various conditions and criteria to be met or not met if a variance is to be granted or not granted.
Sure.
And before we get to 26, let's go to 25. Number 2, the variance request is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It's my understanding, and I could be wrong, that the comprehensive plan would have this as agricultural land. Is that correct?
That would be my understanding.
So if the comprehensive plan has this as agricultural land, putting a house on it would not be consistent with the comprehensive plan, would it?
I don't think a statement that broad would always hold. I think there are many instances where you could find support within the comprehensive plan for doing just that.
Are the owners of the proposed parcel under consideration, are they farming the adjacent land?
They own the adjacent land. Who actually does the farming? I guess I'm not aware of that.
Will the owners of the parcel in question, they're the ones that either are farming the land or have someone else farming the land?
I believe so.
And we can clear that up when they have their opportunity.
Yeah.
And we go to page 26 now. Number 4, the variance request is due to special circumstances or circumstances unique to the property, not created by the owners of the property since the enactment of the ordinance. What are the special circumstances?
In this case, we've identified the functional challenges due to soil suitability for a proposed dwelling as limiting the available areas on the parcel.
When we consider the issue of special circumstances, do we focus on the parcel in question, or are we looking at other property?
Well, in this case, we looked at the proposed parcel in question. We looked at the previous proposal, and then we looked at an area that had a different soil classification. So we looked at 3 areas.
Is the uniqueness of this property, as that term is used in the ordinance and in number 4 here, the fact that it's agricultural land? What is the uniqueness?
Well, in this case, the uniqueness here of the parent parcel, so to speak, because if we're looking at carving out a child parcel, it would come out of a parent parcel, were that the other areas that potentially would be an alternative have challenges, i.e. driveway length and the requirement to take out a larger number of acres to construct a driveway, and or construction suitability challenges in soils that are poorly suited for a dwelling and soils that are poorly suited for wastewater treatment.
I could be in error here, but it's always been my understanding that the phrase, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property. And when it says unique to the property, it's the property that's subject to the variation request.
You're saying the proposed parcel.
Correct.
Well, I mean, the variance request though is to create the proposed parcel. So in the lens I look through in doing the analysis, I was looking at the parent parcel because their post parcel is not yet created. And that's the relief they're seeking from you is so that they can create that parent parcel or that child parcel.
May I ask the county attorney a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, I think that would be fine. Um,
Steve, my question to you is I'm looking at the statutory criteria for a variance to be approved. And it's the phrase, the variance request is due to special conditions or circumstances unique to the property, not created by owners of the property since the enactment of this ordinance. I've always understood that legal phrase to mean unique to the property, which is within the application for which a variance is being requested. Is that accurate?
Well, there's room in the interpretation for you to determine what is unique and what is not unique. But what I would say is that if every property surrounding the area had the exact same conditions, it wouldn't be unique. So if every property had steep slopes and wetlands and drainage issues that would not allow for placement of any dwelling on the parcel, it wouldn't be unique. But if it has these characteristics that are here and there throughout the area, but very rare for, one parcel to run into this circumstance in this situation, particularly in this, where you're separating off a parcel, and you're gonna end up with two parcels.
So all of the property in the area of this application appears to be agricultural.
That's correct.
So what makes this property unique,
So,
if anything?
so based on my reading of the staff report, it's a combination of the slope, the amount of slope on the property, the wetlands on the property, and the suitability for placing a dwelling anywhere on the property being limited by those things.
So you're referring to geographic characteristics existing in areas other than on the proposed parcel.
Right, but see, the way what I view it is that if you look at, say, maybe this parcel, for example, has no steep slopes, or this parcel has steep slopes here, this may or may not be cultivated, this is cultivated, they all have a little bit different characteristics. This has no, agricultural land on it. So there's characteristics that they may have in common, but it's the combination that makes it unique. But that's for you to decide in terms of whether that standard is met.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then my final question to Aaron is, if you would flip back to maybe your second or third slide that you showed us, Aaron, it's the one that has the other dwellings, that one.
Sure.
Would you point, I think I see the purple lines up there, and that single family dwelling, that's the proposed single family dwelling.
Correct. This actually, let me get to a different, this might be a straight down view. You've got the red.
Yes.
And then this turquoise outlined in yellow, those are existing. Not just dwellings, all structures, but
So the structures on the other parcels below the proposed parcel are those agricultural structures versus residences?
you're talking on parcel 14 ending in 321.
321 and 330.
I don't believe those are agricultural. I believe those are residential.
So those are homes also.
Correct. I mean, some of these parcels own adjacent parcels. So, the size is not necessarily indicative of the use. But that particular parcel, I do not believe they own adjacent parcels, and they did not appear to be agricultural buildings when I was on site.
Could you go back then to the previous slide? Yes. Do we know whether the buildings on if you point south of the road, that one and the one to the right, and even further to the right, are any of those improvements residential buildings?
I'll speak from memory from being out there. I'll qualify my response like that. This looked like a somewhat more modern home. This is a long-established farmstead where the house has been torn down and rebuilt with a modern home. This is an agricultural building, so this is on the actual parent parcel in question here. These are owned by the same landowner. In terms of improvements over here, I believe there may be some construction in the last 20 to 30 years based on visually seeing the sheds, but no more recent than that, I would say.
So the first one you pointed out to being a fairly modern residential building.
Yep.
Do we know if a variance was required for that home to be constructed?
From memory, I don't believe one was. No, I believe that predates the soil standards being introduced into the ordinance.
Thank you. Those are all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Amy, did you have a question?
I did. If we can get a larger view, and I don't remember which slide that is, Aaron. Maybe that one that you flicked past
This
there.
one here, probably.
What is the property? Am I seeing property boundaries or?
You are, they are, you're not seeing the western edge on this particular slide, but
Okay.
you are seeing property boundaries here in the
So
dark.
those are property boundaries. If you
Correct.
could go to one that shows the bigger property boundaries. I think the one that shows it to the west.
Not
Further, that's not
quite get
property
us there.
boundaries.
I don't know that I
Not
have
a
one that goes
great
all the
slide,
way to
by
the,
way.
oh, there we
here,
there we
good
go.
one.
There- Yes.
Okay, so, what would preclude other locations, given that I see, I think, if I'm correct, what I asked, that property boundary does go quite a ways to the west. And I'm not sure about what that land all looks like, although I was out there.
Sure. So you're asking,
Yeah.
why not something over here?
I mean, close to the
I
road,
believe there is
obviously.
another pocket of unregulated soils over there, but I would suspect that building on those would have some of the similar challenges that building in the unregulated soils here did. Not suitable for dwellings, not suitable for septics. And then you would all, of course, have the same issue you had with the original proposal up here, a very long driveway requiring a larger area to be converted out of tillage.
Oh, so that is a property boundary, not a road that the driveway runs alongside.
Right, so this is a road here.
Okay,
When proposal one took a driveway all the way across here, about a third of a mile.
okay,
And that required, loss of more cropland in the entire parcel they're proposing now, just for the driveway. And for that, that was one of the reasons they reconsidered.
okay.
To get all the way out here, you'd be coming off of either here or somewhere on that town road. It
Driveway.
would require a very long, perhaps one would consider a driveway of that length to be unreasonably long.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Lynn, did you have anything?
Just wondering, in the parcel in question, so it looks like the single family dwelling is in the lower right corner, kind of.
In that particular slide, it would be within that pink proposed parcel.
Which leaves the rest of the parcel, I mean, I'm just wondering what they're gonna do. Is that gonna be lawn?
I
Are
mean,
they
it would
gonna-
be right there. The dwelling, I think, is somewhat centered in that parcel, but yeah, I guess I'm not sure, but you'll have an opportunity to speak with them about that.
Okay, any more questions? No? All right, thank you, Aaron.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Would the petitioner like to address the board? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Jeremy Allen, 330 9th Street, Northwest Plainview, Minnesota. I have no further comments besides just thank you for your time today and thank Aaron for his time. So, are there any questions? Yes.
Just what I was asking him is, within that parcel that I assume is currently being farmed,
Yep.
um, is that whole inside the pink gonna be taken out of production, or will they still have some farm fields?
Right here.
Not,
The-
not the road itself, that's a field road, right?
Yeah, this part is the field driveway now.
So where the big squarish area.
Yeah, that's farmland now.
Is that gonna, any part of that still gonna be farmed, or are they just gonna turn it into lawn, what they do? course, you-
I mean, it's only gonna, this is gonna be, I think like 2 acres is all we got figured.
2 acres is the,
I think
In
it,
the
the whole, I think all this is 2.7 acres. So if we
okay,
take the driveway out, that's not farmed now, I believe this is about 2 acres.
but is any of that still gonna be farmed, or you turning that into lawn, or what are you doing?
I guess we haven't really decided yet, if
Okay.
if we possibly farm. Depending how everything lays out.
Right, I'm just wondering.
I think there was a question earlier, are you a part of the farm activities there? Or are you gonna continue farming, or how does it work?
My dad owns the farm and he rents the farmland out right now,
Okay,
so. Yeah,
all right. Any other questions for the petitioner?
No.
So Jeremy, if I could just, again, I think
Yep.
I'm piggybacking, Lynn, on what you said. And I assume this is, north. So to the north of that site is a cornfield, what I saw. To the north of the building site, on about a 12%, not even that far, just like right on the other side of the pink. That's surrounded by a cornfield. And then that little, it goes downhill at less than 12%, I think was the number, to that darker sort of curved area, which is around a dry run, which runs into a spring.
Right.
And that right now is alfalfa, I saw. Would that continue to be an alfalfa in order, because there's going to be tillage on the uphill side of that? And there is a dry run that runs to the spring, which goes to the kind of the northwest. Is that alfalfa boundary going to remain there? Would you be able to say or not?
the one that's, cause there's one right here right now, or the one?
Yeah, that
down-
kind of arc, right?
Right here.
Yeah, when I was there, it was alfalfa.
This is probably the max that we can allow it to be farmed, you know, is from here down. Cause this is all kind of wet down in here and the spring starts right in here.
Okay,
So over the years, dad has worked this down probably as far as he can to the old pasture to be farmed. Cause this is more wet and then the woods start here too.
uh-huh,
And so that spring starts about in, I think about in here, and then there's a kind of a creek that goes through there.
right, right. Okay,
This
so
property is kind of hard because it's very long and not much access.
it is, yeah. See that,
So there's no access on the back side of this property either.
right. Okay. All right, thanks.
Does that field road continue down past the parcel you have indicated there?
Yeah, there's a waterway right here. And that field driveway continues down to about here.
Okay.
Will that field driveway have to then be modified because of the proposed construction of the home?
Yes. We'll just modify, make a driveway out of the first part to get the property.
But that would essentially then cut the balance of the field drive off. So I'm asking, will the field drive to the left of the proposed home be eliminated then?
No, what do you use the term? I'll probably give dad access to access my driveway to get to continue on to his field driveway, so the field driveway will stay.
You'd have an easement there and then it would just continue past the end of your driveway as a field road.
Right.
So that in theory, the easement would go through your parcel. And the driveway would essentially be the same configuration that it is now.
Correct, yep. Yep,
All right,
we're just trying to look at the best way to eliminate, not take too much crop out of production to make this work, cause you know, we wanna, my parents are getting older and we wanna be out there and close to them and help them as they need and,
Admirable.
yeah.
So are your parents still actively farming or do you rent the land?
No, dad rents the land out. so, Yeah.
all right. Thank you.
Question?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Also move.
Second.
We have a motion by Lynn, seconded by Amy to open the meeting to the public. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. The meeting is now open to the public. If anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address into the microphone and let us know what your feelings are. For the second time, if anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, you can come forward now to the microphone and state your name and address. For the third and final time, if anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward now and state your name and address. All right, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing then.
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Amy, seconded by Lynn to close the hearing to the public. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Discussion.
We need to make a move to do that or? we just-
No, you can go right ahead.
He's moved, yeah.
All
Yeah.
these moves.
I don't know, I think it seems reasonable.
The only concern I would have, excuse me, is that it is a slope towards, as Jeremy pointed out, a spring to a wetland. And then it's going to be corner beans, it's cropland, and it's prime soil, so, you know, they want to use it. And that some form of that border of alfalfa, as in a buffer, to prevent the erosion off of that slope, given not today or lately the violent rains, but sometimes the violent rains we have that would create washing down that slope. They have a waterway I saw, and I did not see evidence of that erosion, but there's gonna be hardscape, I presume, on a driveway and around a home. And then there'll be some disturbance with a constructing a home. So that's a concern I have, is the erosion down towards that spring, if something isn't put in place to prevent that.
Jordan, can I speak to that?
Yes, please, I was just gonna ask you to.
Valid concern. As part of the standard review process for the erection of a structure in Winona County, an erosion control plan is developed and then reviewed by soil and water folks. So often those will call for some sort of control device such as a silt fence or straw bales, and they'll dictate a timeline for seeding depending on the slopes, all for the purpose of, I think, controlling exactly what you're identifying as a potential problem. So
Okay.
that, should this be granted and should they move forward with the build, that would be part of their approval process.
Okay, and that's something they go out and look at, Aaron, or use a drone?
Well, the applicant would prepare what they feel is appropriate. And then that would be sent over to the soil and water folks who would either say, yes, what you've prepared is perfect, or do these other things in addition. And then the permit that they're ultimately issued by the county would require them to implement the practices that the SWCD recommends.
Okay, all right, thank you for clarifying that, Aaron.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll preface my comments by stating that I have high admiration for the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance. And both promote agricultural land in the county in a condition like this. I'm torn on this one because I understand the options that were considered and eliminated, and that this is a son and his wife who would like to be close to the parents. It's different than some that we've considered in the past where the family member is going to be close to assist with the farming operation. It's a small amount of acreage to be taken out of production. But in the back of my mind, I see that the insidious nature of chipping away at agricultural production land over many, many years in Winona County will eventually, at some point, beyond the time that I'm alive, I'm sure, will essentially decimate the agricultural production land in whole or in part. So I'm going to vote in favor of this variance, but I'm extremely torn in my decision to do so. We're seeing more and more of these requests for variances on soils that are considered most appropriate for agricultural production. I believe the comprehensive plan was put in place for good reasons, and that's to preserve the agricultural production and nature of property in Winona County. So I say that just so in the future, whether it's the staff or the board, I'm gonna look at all of these requests with extreme circumspection. And in this case, under the circumstances that it's a family member who's gonna be on this parcel, that carries great weight for me in this unique circumstance. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying. And I agree with it. I do like that in this area, there are a lot of other dwellings nearby. I think the goal of the comp plan is to kind of keep those all in a small area, so we're not just every 8th mile is a dwelling. But yeah, it does, when it says, about altering the essential character of the area, I think that's what it's alluding to, is this area has quite a bit of dwellings already, and it won't change that necessarily. Were you looking to make a motion with that statement at all?
I would not make the motion, but I think Amy has a comment or question.
Well, I think you said it beautifully. It puts us in an awkward situation when we have to consider these agricultural lands. I agree when it's a family member and so forth, it's a bit different. But it occurs to me that by allowing these variances, that creates the situation that makes it an area where more housing can be put, if you hear what I'm saying. It's just a progression that continues to need a variance, but is allowed a variance by the fact that the previous variances were allowed. And I'm not sure I'm comfortable totally with that. I've seen that occur a lot, and it seems to me that that's a really awkward situation. A variance creates a situation where additional variances continue to be allowed because there are dwellings there.
Yes.
And so the problem has been created by the Board of Variance. And I'm, as you are, not comfortable with that. And it's an awkward spot to be put into. I'm not,
Yeah, I'm not sure that any of those, the existing structures were granted variances to be there. I guess we don't have that information necessarily, but
Well, I
there
believe
could be, or this could be the first
Yeah.
of,
Aaron believes, not 100%, that the modern home may have predated the provisions of the ordinance that would require a variance.
but now by giving a variance, we create a situation where, since this is an area where the housing is, it would be, I believe, correct by the Board of Variance to give other variances because this very variant,
well,
if it,
it
So
supports
that's
that
my
one thing, but
concern.
it doesn't set a precedence in any way where we would have to allow further development there.
As we talked about, each property has its unique features and situations and family situations and whether they're farming or not farming. And so I don't think we're locked into granting or not granting a variance just based on what we did with someone else. I mean, this one looks like they've explored all kinds of possibilities and this looks like the best place to do it. There's also the issue of property rights. And, you know, the parents own the land and they're open to, you know, letting their son, you know, buy a parcel and build a house there. So, I mean, they certainly have that right to do that.
They only have the right to do that if a variance is granted. There's nothing in the zoning
That's
ordinance.
what we're here for.
There's nothing in the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan that refers to the concept of property rights.
But the other problem with the comprehensive plan is they limit what people can build on the edge of the bluffs. So if you're worried about farm production land, then you need to allow people to build perhaps on the bluffs because,
I totally disagree
know,
with that
that's-
statement.
well, either you want farmland or you don't. If you want people to be able to build their houses, and maybe you don't want them to, but people want to build homes on their land, so, you know, they're gonna be on farmland, and that's the only place they can go, you know, that's their prerogative to be able to do that.
I respect your opinion, and since we're not confronted with that at the moment, I guess we don't need to discuss it further, but I certainly respect your opinion.
Okay, well, I would be in favor of them being able to build.
Steve?
I just wanted to add if it would, in case it would help, if the board wants, I could put together some materials on what is meant while courts see unique to the property and how they define that term for future use. Maybe you could have a discussion about
I would
that.
love that.
Okay.
and then also, Steve, the number 5, the essential character of the locality, I think is somewhat about what we're talking about here also,
Sure. Yeah, I could put together some materials on that.
Thank you.
maybe
Mhm.
historically.
Aaron, could you come back up here for a moment, please? I was just curious, I don't see anything on the planning commission's agenda for this applicant this
Okay.
evening.
Correct, yeah, that would not be coming forward unless an approval were obtained here. So they've begun the process of applying, but they were looking to sequence them
Okay,
such that, they wouldn't do both at once. They would,
and that would be a 40-acre,
it would be correct.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion one way or the other on this.
I make a motion that we consider the variance and vote on it. Is that,
It would have to be for or against.
oh, okay. So I have to state I'm for the variance. Is that?
You would have to motion either approval or denial of the
I'm-
variance
I make a motion to approve the variance,
as it is
given what I've
written
heard, as it is written.
with the,
I'll second that.
okay. I just want to be clear, you're making a motion to approve the variance as with the findings and facts as they are written and the conditions attached to it.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? None opposed. The variance is granted. And I will read the appeal to the district court. All decisions by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals from any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final, except that any aggrieved person or persons or any department, board, or commission of the jurisdiction or of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after the receipt of the notice of decision to the district court in the county in which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision just rendered at this public hearing must do so to the district court. The planning department is not responsible for filing the appeal. All right. Does anyone need to take a break for 5 minutes or anything?
only if you want to.
I'm fine.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to docket number BOA 10/16/2502, which is the petition of H&B Ag Services represented by Greg and Jody Heim and Brian Bloom, who seek a variance to allow a new structure 100 feet setback from Highway 14 instead of the required 130 feet. And 20-foot setback from the rear property line rather than the required 50.
Good afternoon, Board of Adjustment. Can everybody hear me quite well? Okay. I'm going to go briefly through a PowerPoint presentation. This request is to allow a setback variance from State Highway 14, 100-foot setback instead of the required 130, and to also allow a rear yard setback to allow a 20-foot rear yard property line instead of the required 50. Get this to work here. Okay, there we go. Properties in St. Charles Township. It's an existing agricultural, commercial oriented business that is located there. The existing parcel is 2.2 acres. And they essentially would like to build, I believe, a 60 by 100 structure to streamline their seed storage business. I believe part of the facility is for corn and this new building would be, I believe, for soybeans or vice versa. I'd have to verify that. Existing business is called H&B Ag Services. Greg and Jody Heim and Brian Bloom are the partners in this endeavor. Essentially a site plan that shows where the 60 by 100 foot building would be located. And it would be located on the western portion of the property. You can see the existing buildings that make up the balance of the property. Kind of showed elevations. You can see that there's somewhat of a slope that goes somewhat, kind of comes in from the north and it kind of angles kind of in a southwesterly manner. And then you see the wooded land that surrounds it with the elevations as you look to the south on the property. This may look familiar. We had a request in April with the neighboring property or kind of adjacent property located to the east. That was Mark Leonard's. And you can see that his parcel that we looked at in April. And as mentioned in the staff report, there is some unique circumstances in that this area contained the old the railroad going all the way back to the 1800s. So it's kind of a remnant of showing kind of what that right of way had looked like going years back in the past. Couple of photos showing the existing business. I guess you can see this view from 14 is kind of looking to the southeast, and this is just a straight shot looking east at the building on the left. Now some field ground shots. This is looking at the existing driveway as you access the property. It does have a crushed rock service there, probably most likely for truck traffic and heavier equipment. Picture on the right is kind of a scan looking again to the east of the yard area and looking at the existing buildings. And then I'm standing right on the edge of the wood line. Applicants had it staked out when I visited the site in September. And this is a view of kind of where the building would be. You can see there's some red flags and that represented what the proposed building would be. The shot on the right is looking to the west. That driveway that you see serves a residential property that's located to the south. So that would be the nearest neighbor in this case. Couple more profiles. This is looking on that side, on the west side of the building or west side of the existing buildings, looking at where the proposed building would be. The view on the right is looking to the south, and you can see the pink lines of where the building would be located. So it's in lawn is the current status. There is a septic system that serves that facility. So comments that we've given diagrams and exhibits to the applicant that they have to proceed with care should this go forward, because there's a 10-foot setback from any tank, the septic tank, and there's a 20-foot setback from wherever their existing drain field is. So they'll have to make sure that they can adequately meet those setbacks so they won't interfere with the septic system. Again, the picture on the right is looking at the building sight line. The building setback for this is actually, they're going to be further away than those existing set of buildings. These existing infrastructure there is closer than 100 feet than what they're asking for with this building. Again, that kind of shows maybe the comparison of roughly what 100 feet looks like. And then they'd be asking, again, 20 feet from the southern or the rear property line. They did meet with the St. Charles Township Board, and is typical with that township. They indicated no comments in regards to the request. I also did send a packet to MnDOT, and they necessarily didn't have any questions with the variance or the setback, but since they do have right-of-way that's adjacent to them, they've taken a very recent interest in reviewing all proposed projects that meet their stormwater and erosion control. So that information was then forwarded to the petitioner to make those contacts with the District 6 staff to make sure that they satisfy all MnDOT specifications. They want to know impervious surface, they want to know the drainage pattern, and they want typically some drainage calculations. So that's something that the burden would be put on the applicant to satisfy with MnDOT. Our recommendation has been to support the granting of the variance. The two conditions, as you see in the staff report, and based on this late coming information from MnDOT and in the correspondence, and you'll hear more from the applicant, he can probably elaborate a little bit more where they're at with it. But we throw out a proposed condition 3 that MnDOT to review the stormwater and drainage plans associated with the new building with the applicant as for your consideration based on the recent events with it. So with that, any questions?
Eric, refresh my memory when you said in April, the parcel to the east was before us. Was it a variance granted on that one?
Correct, and that's going to, that's, you can barely see it, it's coming into view right here, but it's a T-shaped, that's the hammerhead part of the lot, and if I was to show what that looks like, it's
There.
that right there, so they requested, I believe, an 80-foot setback from MinDOT, and they were able to meet this setback, and actually, the beacon system, the agricultural district, required prime soils, but in digging into this parcel, I'm actually gonna be bringing it back for November, the planning commission for the rezoning, or to make sure it's zoned appropriately, because I did catch a contradiction. According to what the beacon system says, it shows that it's agricultural, but actually it is zone B commercial, so we do need to correct that, and that will be initiated through the planning commission next month on that one.
Then the middle parcel that has an improvement on it already, maybe it's not the middle parcel, but the improvement that exists already, that must have received a variance.
There's been multiple variances for these buildings in the past based on similar reasons, yep.
Excuse me, Ross, does that abut the city limits?
It's kind of a hodgepodge of municipal zoning. Across the road, I believe there is some city of St. Charles property. I know the John Deere dealership is under the city. Then you have the high school, but there is a township property between that and the high school where they have their ball fields and stuff. So it is kind of a mix of municipal and township zoning in that area.
This property, though, does it abut the city of St. Charles?
It would, if, I mean, when you mean a butt, even though a road
A shared
separates it.
boundary? It seems close, but I can't quite place it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It looks like the property to the west is St. Charles Township as well.
But not city, the city
Yeah.
of St. Charles. Okay,
Yeah, I think. I believe this one might be city of
oh,
St. Charles, and then that way, and then this one is township, and then on adjacent to that is a city.
oh,
These are mainly township as you go that way.
okay.
What, whereas I think some of the records had gotten, kind of mixed up is that there was, previous annexations that were in this area too, that were partially and non-partially approved. So that's where I think some of the records got haywire too. But we're working through that to try to correct, correct some of the zoning districts on it.
Okay.
So,
The woodland behind it, I couldn't read your elevations. Does that go up?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it very steep?
I would say it's not a bluff, but it goes up approximately, you can, if I was to look at the elevation lines, like this is, looks like it's 1210, 1200. Yeah, it's 1180, so it's probably going up 20 to 30 feet within this wood
Okay.
line.
And the property owners, when that steep, they're not gonna be farming it or anything like that.
Correct, no, it's lawn, that's why I guess the,
Should setback mean that close to their property?
we haven't received any comments, and everybody within that vicinity would have received notice of this public hearing, so.
And it looks like, as far as from the road, it's actually farther back than some existing buildings on that property.
Correct, yeah.
Any other questions for Eric?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Would the petitioner like to tell us about your application? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Greg Heim, 11617 Highway 14, St. Charles. Yeah, we're thinking it's going to be a 60 by 120. They said 100, but it's a 60 by 120. And the reason we wanted to go back is to get the distance from the Highway 14 to be, so we're no closer than any of the other existing buildings is where we're at. And as far as the water runoff, we did talk to the MnDOT, and I said, there is a culvert you can see about halfway back on the property on the west side of that dark spot. And the water does run down that way, and it will continue to, the water flow will be the same as what it was.
Okay.
Other than that, I guess that's about it, I guess. And we will bring in some fill so that we won't be eroding the hillside. So we won't be disturbing the hillside. That was another reason why we decided to go that way. So we won't be eroding the hillside, so.
You mean you'll build up the?
We'll build up, yeah, so that we don't have to dig in the hillside. We will, because you see is when you look from that picture from the west looking east, you're kind of down. We'll bring that up and then slope everything for that water to go down that west side.
Okay.
Like it is now, but then we won't, we won't dig into the hillside.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
So I'd be looking for a motion to open the meeting to the public then.
I so move.
A motion by Lynn, second by Ed. All those in favor of opening the meeting to the public, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed. The meeting is now open to the public. If anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. For the second time, if anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward now and state your name and address. For the third and final time, if anyone would like to come forward, would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward and do so. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Ed, seconded by Lynn to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
I,
None opposed. Discussion on this one.
I move to approve the variance and the findings of fact, subject to all of the conditions recited not only in our packet, but the one that Eric recited during his presentation.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion by Ed, seconded by Lynn to approve the variance with the findings of fact written and the conditions written and stated. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The variance is granted with none opposed. Appeal to the district court. All decisions by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals from any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final, except that any aggrieved person or persons or any department, board, or commission of the jurisdiction or of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after the receipt of notice of the decision to the district court in the county in which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision just rendered at this public hearing must do so to the district court. Planning department is not responsible for filing the appeal. And so we will move on to docket number BOA 10-16-2503. And that is to consider the petition of Lisa Wingert, who seeks a variance regarding new dwelling on class 3 soils rather than class 4 through 8. And that is Lou.
Good afternoon. As stated, we have another variance for class 3 soils. It's pretty common these days.
This one is accompanied by a
A conditional use permit this evening, yep. For a dwelling on less than 40 acres. So the planning commission, that's the only thing on their agenda tonight is to hear that petition, if it is granted here today by the Board of Adjustment. The location of the petition is in section 17 of Whitewater Township. You can see on the inset map below, there's a flag in the northwest corner of the county indicating the location in the county that we're looking at. It's a 262 acre property that the Wingerts are engaged in farming. They are proposing a 3 acre parcel. You'll see in the staff report, there is a little confusion. I apologize for that, but the application was for a 3 acre parcel, and that's what it was noticed for. As we scaled it out on their site plan, it looked like more like 4 acres. And then in some of their materials, they did reference a larger acreage as well. They didn't pin it down really well, but we're going with 3 acres for the petitions and for the notices. 3, and that's the most restrictive, the smallest. I mean, obviously, if they get bigger, we're not going to hold them to the 3 acres. If they need, if it ends up being 4 acres, that's fine. But for notification purposes and here, 3 acres is being used.
So I have a question. Why isn't that more important as far as specifying exactly the amount of the acreage? Sounds like you're very amenable to adding an acre or taking an acre away. Why is that?
I think it's it has more to do with we're looking at doesn't have anything to do with the Board of Adjustments petition.
Well, actually,
Um,
if you add an acre to the 3, it's another acre potentially taken out of agricultural production, right?
Not necessarily.
Is it gonna be in this case?
No,
It's
No.
not a cornfield?
it is, but we're not saying that the parcel isn't indicating the area that's going to be removed from production. We're just saying that the dwelling is going to be located on class 1 through 3 soils. We're not looking at they could at any time remove that acreage from production. That's their right as property owners. They don't have to keep it in production.
It's only their right if they get a variance.
No, they could remove it from production without any variance, any permits from the county at all.
By which you mean they could stop
Stop,
tilling it?
stop farming it. Yep.
Yes, that's correct.
The current owner.
Yep. Or future owners. Yep. Yep. Nobody is required to farm that land. What we are here to determine is whether they can build a home on it. And yes, building the home does have an impact on the acreage of how many acres are removed from cultivation. But it doesn't, the size of the parcel doesn't indicate how many acres are going to be farmed or not.
Well, let me just follow up on that. Let's say hypothetically that the variance is granted. We know that the portion of the parcel that the house is gonna go on and the driveway and any outbuildings will remove that portion of the parcel from agricultural production,
Mhm.
correct? We never, when we grant these variances, put any conditions on that the balance of the property cannot be removed from agricultural production. So I've always considered that when we grant a variance, for example, on a 3 acre parcel, 3 acres is ultimately gonna be withdrawn from production. And logically.
Okay.
That's practically, that probably happens.
Not necessarily. It's not been my experience with these, but you could be looking at a proposal that's 30 acres. And we'd still be in here for the variance for building on class 1 through 3 soils. And we'd still be looking at a conditional use permit for building on less than 40 acres. But that doesn't, I wouldn't assume that those 30 acres are being removed from production.
Well, we would specifically ask the applicant in that hypothetical what his or her intention would be regarding the entire parcel if a variance was.
I,
granted.
I do think you'd be on, I mean, we can ask Steve about this, but I think you'd be on slippery ground if you were to be adding conditions that they couldn't, they couldn't use their property in the way that they'd want to if it was granted a variance and it was meeting the standards of the ordinance.
I disagree. I think you can put whatever reasonable and appropriate conditions.
Only if they have a nexus with what's being asked for.
And they would in this situation because of the high priority of preserving agricultural land consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I guess I would disagree.
So we can agree to disagree.
We can.
Could I ask a question about this 3-4? You will know how much acreage to tax for a homestead, whether it's 3 acres or 4 acres. That will
Well,
be-
it would be based on the actual, what actually gets split and surveyed and recorded.
that will be a fact entered into the records. So
Right.
whether it's 3 acres or 4 acres, that will be known. And
Will be known. Yeah, they will have to decide. It will be what it is.
Be
Yes.
surveyed, and
Mhm.
that information will be recorded in a deed and recorded in the city.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, at this point, we're just going through the variance and the conditional use permit. Then there's construction permits, development certificate, septic permit, which will need to indicate that as well. And then usually it gets more honed in at that point because that's the final construction permits and documents. And then that gets a lot permitted. And then there's follow through with that, which is the survey and the actual construction.
Is part of the reason that that's an issue, because this 3-4 thing is kind of strange, because there's still corn has not been taken off that ground, and it's pretty hard to put flags in a cornfield that hasn't been combined?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an estimate because they haven't actually gotten the survey done. So usually on these properties, you're not out there pulling tape or, it's too big to be able to like really pin down that amount. So you're relying on GIS, drawing lines on and estimating what the acreage is. I mean, I was estimating based on what they drew on,
Oh,
which looked more like 4 acres to me. What they had presented was 3 acres, but then they also did indicate a slightly different acreage later. So we do want to pin down, and especially if you're looking at a density or the size of the parcel for you're going less than 40 acres. It has more to do with the conditional use permit because we're looking at a lot of less than 40 acres. So it is germane at like how small are you going or how big is that parcel going to be in relation to 40? I don't see a huge difference between 3 and 4 acres in that analysis, but you wouldn't want to, you certainly wouldn't want to propose something like 20 acres and then end up with going to 5 acres. That's quite a bit smaller and quite a bit of a difference from what was proposed. And obviously we try to be as exact as possible, on the front end to, minimize the amount of change that would happen. So. But
Right, thanks, Lou.
yeah, any other questions on that? Again, I apologize for not having that clear in the staff report and representing that on the front end. I think we could have done that better, but just wanted to point that out here. When you see the differences in the staff report, that's why. Okay. Moving on, the site plan shows just a little bit larger with some topography. Those are 10-foot contours showing that the proposed parcel is contains 6 to 10% slopes. The access is from Beaver Ridge Drive, which dead ends on the petitioner's parcel. There are 3 farmsteads on Beaver Ridge Road, which, so it's a dead end road with 2 other farms on it. Pretty low density and not a lot of traffic is, I guess, the point. The proposed driveway would be a shared driveway with the neighbors who have been approved for a dwelling on, you can see just north and west of the proposed parcel, a parcel line that indicates a neighboring parcel to contain a dwelling. So their dwelling would also utilize the front of this driveway that's indicated here. And then it would continue on along the field road up to that parcel.
That's the one where we see a white outline, Lou?
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
right there. So in these pictures, the white lines are parcel lines.
and there's no improvement on that one yet, or there is?
No improvement on it yet, but it's been approved for a dwelling. Yes.
And therefore, and I apologize for not remembering this if I was involved, a variance must have been granted on that one, or no?
From soils,
Yes.
actually, it was not because the parcel contained less than 40% class 1 through 3 soil. So it met the exemption of the of the ordinance requirement. Yep. So an existing field road, we'll see in the pictures what that looks like leading to the parcel. And then the dwelling will be located on the 4 acres on the upper portion of the parcel, close to the driveway, in order to minimize the impact to class 1 through 3 soils and to stay out of out of slopes. You'll see when you go further to the east onto the parcel, the lines get tighter, and that's indicating steeper slopes and a drainage way, which is one of the practical difficulties. Zooming out a little bit, you can see the petitioner's existing farmstead at the end of the road. I'll point out the existing dwelling right here. And also want to let you know that they do operate a agricultural enterprise, Beaver Ridge Beef, beef cattle that they raise on the property, and is part of the reason for the proposed parcel would be for Peter and Lisa's son Lucas to live on the farm and be more capable of taking care of duties related to the farm activities. So building site located on class 3 soils, which is a seat and silt loam. Conditional use permit required, as we spoke about earlier, for a new dwelling on less than 40 acres. I have some photos to give you a sense of the lay of the land and what things look like on site. If you were not able to visit the site, the first picture on the left here is of the access point and the existing farm field road. Going back to the proposed building site, and then Beaver Ridge Road on the right, heading to the east towards the existing farmstead. On the picture to the right, we're at the corner of where the field road bends to the north and goes to the neighbor's parcel. The proposed parcel is in the cornfield to the right here. Now we're looking the opposite direction to the west along Beaver Ridge Road. Neighbor's farm on the left there is the access to their farm. And then the other farm is at the kind of towards the beginning of Beaver Ridge Road where it connects with the county road. And then we have a picture of the proposed building site further down Beaver Ridge Road. So we're looking to the north from Beaver Ridge Road towards the proposed building site. Which would be out in this area. Whitewater Township had a considered the request at their September 30th meeting and are in support of it. We did get a township acknowledgement form today and placed on your, by your chairs there on the desk. So you have a more legible copy if you have any questions. The recommendation is to grant the variance, and we have attached 2 conditions for your consideration if you decide to do so. You have any questions at this point for me? Okay.
All right, thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Would the petitioner like to address the board? State your name and address for us right away so we have that on the record, please.
Hi, I'm Lisa Wingert, 11283 Beaver Ridge Drive, Plainview, Minnesota. Good afternoon. Again, I'm Lisa, and I'm here for my husband, Peter, and I, as we own the parcel in discussion today. Thanks to the Board of Adjustment and the planning for taking the time to put it all together for us. Just a little bit of background. Pete and I have lived on our farm for the last 35 years, and we've raised our 6 adult children. We've got 7 beautiful grandchildren. We all love the farm life. But as we get older, we just do not know what our next steps are in life. So we think about the future and what do we want to do? We just know we cannot do it alone. So Lucas, our son, who's farmed with us for the last 10 years, he works off the farm and he's self-employed, but he loves the agriculture side of it. He has talked to us, and as he's been helping us, he's commented, he says, Mom, Dad, I can help you. And we're like, yeah, but do you want to? If we gradually merge into this, what do you want to do? So he shows a lot of interest in helping. He helps, with the cattle, planting, harvesting. If we need help, we need to call him. He's currently living in Plainview, but we'd like him closer to help. If there's a problem with cattle or whichever, he can be closer. We would love to see the legacy of our farm continue. This is just a small step we're taking. We have not made any other plans, but we're asking just for you to consider our request. So if you have any questions, I'm available for you.
So you're not planning on building immediately, is that correct, or?
We wouldn't build until we got approval, because right now, from what I understand, we need the variance and the conditional use permit. Lucas just was married, so now he and his wife have the financing set up. They've talked to a septic. They've done pieces of this, but we have not surveyed it off at all yet. We want.
Because you're waiting for this to happen first, right?
Correct.
Right.
More money.
Ed, go ahead.
If Mrs. Wingert, you've probably heard some of the discussion about soil quality and whether it's going to be kept in agricultural production or not. In light of that, do you know, let's assume hypothetically the variance is granted and a home is placed on the property. Is any of the property going to remain in agricultural production?
Yes. Right now, Lucas and Callie have said they need the septic, they need the well, they need the house. But the area around it is a field, and we would continue to use it as a field. No, we're not going to make it all a big backyard with grass in it. Because we have 6 children, we don't know what our plan is, but Lucas would be one that maybe in the future, we would sell our main parcel off to. We do not know. Like I said, this is very small steps that we're taking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
So more of a curiosity question, but I don't know if this picture shows all your 262 acres. But I see a lot of it is land is in production, but where are the cows?
Well. Should I?
Yeah, you can point.
Okay, so this is our beef operation where it's a feedlot. So we also had to stay within the 1,000
Mhm.
limit. When we pull them off of pasture, this is our feedlot. This is all pasture right here, so the cattle can go here. There's also pasture down here, and then there's pasture over here. So, this is our old barn. So you can't see it close enough, but there's cattle in different places.
Okay.
But there's a pond over here too, but
Real quick, most of the 262 acres are actually to the east off of the map. It extends out this way, and that's where most of the tillable land is as well. And so the parcel, and their property, this is just here. This is DNR land. And then the property to the south and to the, west is adjacent property owners.
And
Do you have
then
anything else for us?
I have a question. I think I see a pond. Is there a pond to the right of the yellow line there?
so we have a pond here, and then we have a small, sort of dried out pond right there.
Okay. So the land must slope downward toward the pond?
Somewhat of a slope, it's more sloped in the pasture here, but this is very sloped, this is
Okay.
very,
But the parcel itself in question is not real sloped.
it's just a nice gradual.
So you'd say it's closer to level than a hill.
There's a little bit of a hill, but
Okay.
What is the slope?
6 to 10% slopes,
Okay.
pretty manageable.
Any other questions?
No.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
One
Second.
We have a motion by Ed, seconded by Amy to open the meeting to the public. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address into the microphone. For the second time, if anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward now and state your name and address. And for the third and final time, if anyone would like to speak for or against this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
I make motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion by Amy, seconded by Lynn to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. The meeting is closed to the public and now open to discussion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll open the discussion, and this would be an example, from my perspective, of if the variance is granted, it would actually promote the goals of the comprehensive plan and the ordinance to continue with the preservation of agricultural use in the county. And the representation by the petitioner that they will preserve as much of the agricultural land as possible is also a significant factor in my mind in arriving at my decision, which will be to vote in favor of this application. But this, I can say hypothetically, if the petitioner's son wasn't the potential purchaser and it was some independent third party that was coming in, I would most likely vote against it.
Anyone else?
I would just like to say, I agree with what you're saying. The conditions in this case lend themselves to the comprehensive plan almost completely. And I'm just going to make this case for what I said earlier that contradicts that. The concern about prime soils going for residential. And that is, as I drove across Winona County to this location, I covered the complete diagonal of Winona County on county roads, okay? And I'm just going to say, what I saw was a lot of prime farmland in use. And it occurred to me that under the right conditions, using that, some of that land for residential is not such a terrible thing.
I would certainly agree with that. And that's why, following up on Lynn's comments, that each application and parcel is unique unto itself. And we need to consider each parcel uniquely.
I agree with what Ed was saying initially, that, you know, this fits, it's a family member. That, you know, that it sounds like they would keep a lot of the land in agricultural production. And, you know, being that it's a business, I know as a farmer, you don't take that lightly to take land out of production.
Yeah.
To build a house. If they wanna build a house there, it's for a good reason.
With all that being said, would anyone like to make a motion,
I move that we approve this variance.
as it is written?
It is written.
Do I have a second? All right, we have a motion by Lynn, seconded by Ed to approve the variance as it is written. With the attached conditions. All those in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
I,
None opposed. For the last time today, I will read this. Appeal to the district court. All decisions by the Board of Adjustment in granting variances or in hearing appeals from any administrative order, requirement, decision, or determination shall be final, except that any aggrieved person, persons, or any department, board, or commission of the jurisdiction or of the state shall have the right to appeal within 30 days after the receipt of the notice of decision to the district court in the county in which the land is located on questions of law and fact. Any party that would like to submit an appeal to the decision just rendered at this public hearing must do so to the district court. The planning department is not responsible for filing the appeal. All right, and with that out of the way, there's only one item left on our agenda, and that is adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Amy, seconded by Lynn to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.